Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the daily medicine transmission for June 29th, 2021, and it is coming in hot. Real hot today. So welcome back to my subscribers and my regular viewing audience. Thank you so much for being here. You truly are the lifeblood of this channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you're new here, welcome. It's great to have you here. And as always, whenever you interact with content like this from an independent content creator like myself, you actually do support the channel. So whether you're watching on BitChute or YouTube, when you subscribe, like, comment, share, all of that stuff actually does make a positive impact on this content that I am offering you today. So we are going to do the daily medicine transmission. We're going to go into the reading today, and like I said, it's coming in hot. Oh boy. So I really do hope that for all of our sakes, that you have allowed the upgrade of your organic instrumentation in order to handle this massive influx of energy, because it is huge. So have you felt it? That's what I'm curious about. Have you felt the shift? Because it's been substantial. Absolutely substantial. There was a big shift from yesterday into today. And of course, there are astrological aspects that are going to connect directly to this, and we'll go over it today. How have your dreams been? Moon in Pisces, very, especially when it meets Neptune, very early in the morning tomorrow, late tomorrow, or late in the evening tonight into tomorrow morning. The moon is going to meet a retrograde Neptune. So just be prepared that we're going to get some really intuitive, very deeply imaginative and watery type of information, I would say. And not even information, of course, it's all information, but it's going to be a very direct connection to source, right into the emotional landscape of ourselves. So that's coming, but there are some definite transits and there are some definite astrological shifts that have happened. One of them in particular is that Pluto has now retrograded back into the next or the former degree. So now it is technically in the 25 to 26 degree range. So the energy of Pluto has shifted very, very noticeably. And the energy that is that coincides with that Sabian symbol is all about the water. It's all about the water. I'm so excited to offer this transmission today because, like I said, it's coming in hot. So one way I want to describe how I received my transmission this morning and my own guidance team, because everybody's got their own team, right? And how they were interacting with me this morning in my meditation. It was, so I grew up in the home of Little League baseball, and this is currently where I'm living. So baseball and Little League was a big part of my growing up, and so it's a set of imagery that comes around pretty often to stimulate some certain things and remind me of other things, and it's just a really fond memory of mine and something that we still do as a family, right? We have a minor league baseball team in the town that I live in, and so we often go to the games as a family, and it's just something very nostalgic. And of course, baseball is the American pastime, but I will say that softball, way more exciting for a lot of different reasons. It moves at a faster pace. The distance between everything is a little bit smaller in softball, and so things move quicker. It's just there's just way more going on. But anyway, the imagery that I got this morning, first of all, was just like total. They're giddy, right? They're giddy. They're so excited because we have turned a corner, and we've turned a corner, and like I said, this is still, it's so hot, and it's so like, whew, that it's important to stay grounded, right? Literally grounded, so this can move through you without burning out the circuitry. I can't stress enough how some of this imagery has been so important, and how the connection to water and the return of the Divine Mother is so important right now to hold the space for this. Because without water, right, the sun and fire and the energy, the solar energy, is just scorched earth. And I know that many of my fans am out in the Pacific Northwest, this is what they're experiencing right now, is straight up scorched earth. And not to minimize that experience at all, but it does really show us what to expect and how it's likely to experience this solar fire that's coming in and this really intense energy coming in without the balancing point of water. And the return of the Divine Mother is that balancing point. And she's coming in very, very strongly. And so the imagery, though, is one that had to do with baseball. So let me back up here. Whew, gosh, it's coming in so hot. Hold on 1 second, guys. All right, that's a little bit better. Okay, so the last time I went to a game, right? Well, not the last time, but the time before, we went to the minor league game. And the home team was doing pretty poorly, right? They were down like 9-1 for most of the game. And then there is this turning point where somebody just cracked it right out of the park or all the way to the end of the fence, right? And so it brought in a bunch of runs, and then the momentum got going all of a sudden. Everybody is getting worked up, and the energy was flowing, and people in the stands were like really excited, and it really, the team, right? And if you think about the collectives guidance team, everything that's here to be part of this process, sitting back, observing, supporting, they're like the fans in the stadium, and they're getting excited because something has shifted, and there was some play that really turned the tides, right? And by the end of the game, they still didn't win, but they came back from a 9-1, 9-1 all the way to 9-8 by the end of the game. And that was in the last 2 innings, right? And so the energy started to build, and it got the team excited, and they started to really like get in the zone. But what it felt like specifically is, if you've ever played baseball, so it's like we're rounding third base, and the base coach is, swinging you through. It's like, go, go, go. That's what it felt like, right? So the work is not done. Certainly, we are in that last, we're rounding third base, and we're getting the signal. Let's go, put it all in. And that's when you put everything that you have into getting to the home plate. That's what it felt like. And it was so exciting. And it's still so exciting that it's really hard to like bring it through without being giddy myself. And of course, if we focus on all of the negativity, if we focus on what is going wrong, then we're not going to see that aspect. But what I do feel is that we're rounding the corner, right? We're getting the signal to go, go for it. And we are on our way home. So it's so important today that we are balancing all of that with our ability to tame this energy, and not to suppress it, but to tame it, to channel it appropriately, to make sure that we are patient, but we are and focused on where we're going. But it's time now. It's time to really ramp up and put all of that energy into that home stretch, literally, as we head there. So we're going to look at the reading. I'm going to show you how hot it is coming in, for sure, and how we're really meant to be grounded in this process of material sculpting, right? We're sculpting something very material, and we are, in fact, falling out of our old patterns, right? And with Venus and Mars and Leo right now, we talked about this yesterday, it is coming in hot, and now it's right here. So let's just look right at the reading. There's so much to talk about today. With the reading, we're going to look at the astrology for today with the moon in Pisces. We're going to talk symbolism and how it's related to the reading today. There's just so much that I'm really pleased to be able to share with you today, and how exciting this really is. And keep in mind that the Kali energy is very strong. And we're gonna see what that is in reference to very specifically. So we're gonna I'm going to minimize myself here, and we're going to get right into this reading. So I hope everyone is doing well, taking good care of themselves, doing what you need to do to stay hydrated, to stay safe. I know it's hot here. It's super hot here. Now, that's not abnormal for where I'm at this time of year, but it's pretty hot for how early in the summer it is. And it's important that we are mitigating that as much as we can possibly do to stay healthy, to stay grounded, to stay cool, right? To have the ability to hold this heat that's coming in without letting it burn us out. So here is today's reading, maybe. Okay. So as you see, we got some synchronous kind of energy here now in our causal factor, that 10 of swords that we had yesterday, facing our past situation of running after false ideas and maybe not quite there yet. And yesterday, that is what it felt like. There was still some work that needed to be done. And I know for me, my body really still needed to adjust to what was coming in. And so, everybody's body is different. Everybody is way that we handle this energy is different, and only you can really know what it is you need to do in order to take care of yourself in the best way possible. And for me, it was just like, sleep as much as I could, and let things settle and recalibrate during a restful period. But I'm glad I did that and didn't really push myself, because now I see how important that was. So we see now our causal factor. There's the 10 of swords, the ruin, right? The ruin in that, there's only so much our endless analysis is going to take us to. And we've gotten to this point now. And the sun in Gemini, right? We've already exited the sun in Gemini. The sun is now very much in that first decan of Cancer right now, and is soon going to be moving into that second decan of Cancer very soon, right? Which means we're going to be approaching a conjunction with fixed star Sirius. So the Sirian nature is going to come online very strongly. This is very related to Cancer, very related to water, very related to the containment system that holds the water, and the next new moon is very much going to sanctify everything that has transpired as a result of the solstice and the solar eclipse that was the new moon, the cycle that we're still in, of assimilating so much, right? And so if we try to continue to analyze everything from a mental perspective exclusively, this is where we get to, right? We get to the end of a line, and we realize that there's only so far. We can't endlessly analyze. We can't endlessly think about things. We eventually have to come to a decision point. This is why the Orion starseed nature is inseparable from the Sirian starseed nature. They are, in fact, connected to each other. And in Egyptian cosmology, Osiris and Isis are, in fact, Orion and Sirius, and they are inseparable from each other. They are each other's consorts. They are siblings. They represent the feminine and masculine quality coming together to create the new life. So we can't get there with our minds alone. And this is what we've experienced, and we've gotten to this point. So the beautiful part about the 10 of Swords, for as much as it's ruin, is that it provides the moment of transformation and realization. And the best we can hope for in this situation is that wisdom comes through all of the pain and loss and the cutting of the sword, right? It is cutting, because there's no room here for anything other than truth. And we have to eventually, root ourselves into that. And this is what this card really represents. So this is our causal factor here. We've already gone through this process. And now we find ourselves at the heart of the moment here with the Two of Wands, right? We're coming in hot, right? Mars in Aries. And we do have Mars in Leo, so it's in a fire sign right now. And as you've probably already experienced, that there is quite a drive in order to activate our own creative expression and passion. with Mars there, and a fighting spirit, absolutely. So dominion, right? And when you have the Two of Wands, we are talking about the first manifestation of a pure creative idea, the beginning of this transformation. So you see that there is, in fact, this ending of a cycle and beginning of a new one that's happening very simultaneously, because that's how it works, right? When the cycle comes to an end, the beginning and end of the cycle is in fact the same point. There's a lot of courage, there's a lot of determination, you can feel it. A lot of courage, determination, a will to conquer. And of course, Mars is a conqueror. So, but what are we conquering exactly? Excuse me, I need to take a sip. Thank you. Okay, what are we conquering exactly? Exactly. Well, we are conquering our own. I would say we're conquering our own demons. We are conquering and really have this courage and determination to actualize ourselves, our own passion. And when we each do that, this is how we have a healthy Aquarian collective. Is when each individual is at their highest potential, when they're actualizing their true nature, the essence of the center of their universe, right? Just like the sun is a star, but the sun is the center of our solar system. It's the giver of all life. And when we connect to our passion, that is in fact the giver of life for us, right? And so in this moment here, we are now at the beginning, right? And power, creativity, courage, determination, and the very beginning of a new creation. And Mars is the impetus, right? It is the driving force and the hunger and the yearning in some ways to actualize our own selves. So it's coming in real hot right now. And it's going to be, when we look at the astrology, we'll see the ways in which we can balance this out with the water element. And ultimately, the return of the Divine Mother, as we're going to see, is the ultimate force of balance to our own internal fire and our own passion. So, which is going to, the symbolism is just remarkable how things have like coalesce together into this message today. So we see here running in the background, right, that subconscious energetic where we draw our personal power from, that Six of Keys, right, the increscent or the waxing moon. This individual is a sculptor, right? And what is a sculptor? It is someone who's putting their own vision into a material form. This symbolism is the degree of the galactic center, right? 27 degrees Sagittarius is a sculptor at work. It is that transition point as we start to bring that creative unification, the alchemy that Sagittarius represents, the true understanding of the nature of reality, into a form, right? Into an actual structure. And if you look in the background, something that I never really noticed before is that this window is open and it's overlooking a harbor, more water, right? More water. And so at the base of us energetically right now, the collective is rooting into and able to draw personal power from this ability to sculpt our own passion, our own creativity into some sort of form, right? And it's an exciting time. This is a time of abundance and growth, right? This is an indication that our efforts combined with external circumstances, right, are going to pay off. And it's important that we keep doing the work, but we keep doing the work in order to get ready to receive. And this is where the energy is in terms of running in the background. It's in the subconscious, right? This is where we draw our power from, and this is what really informs our conscious awareness. So it comes up, moves through this dominion, and where is our conscious awareness? Well, the Four of Scrolls is reversed. We are seeing that we're coming out of our karmic trench. when it's reversed like this, it is, in fact, we are getting dumped out of the trench that we have been building, right? The neural pathways and the grooves in our mind that create actual connections between thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that we've been digging and digging. It's so embedded, right? The addiction to things like gossip and the addiction to things like the negative outcomes, all of these things are the result of our neural pathways that are so deeply entrenched that we don't even realize. We keep digging it deeper and deeper every time we entertain these ideas. Every time that we give our energy and power over to a thought process that takes us on this negative timeline, for instance. And I'm not saying this is about being blind to it, and this is not about being it's not about turning a blind eye to these aspects, or it's not to say that we shouldn't be realistic or look at what's happening, but how we respond to these events is really up to us. And when we have dug a trench so deep in our minds that we don't even see anymore that there's anything outside of us digging this trench, this is where we've run into problems. But the fact that it's reversed, and this is where our conscious awareness is, we have so much power, and we've been working and working and working under the surface. And this is really the work that we put in, and the ability to receive is moving up through the heart of this moment where we're finally at the beginning of this transformative process. Like, it begins now. And our awareness now, our conscious attention, what we are actually seeing is that we are falling out of our karmic trench, aren't we? We are, we have all the resources now that we need to plant new seeds, right? To bring a new harvest. And you can see this, right? You can feel it within you. You've probably noticed it in your relationships, in the people around you, just in the quality of the energy itself. Now, keep in mind that we have to be conscious. It's really easy to fall back into these patterns, right? You can fall back into this trench if you're not careful. You have to be mindful of what's happening. But in fact, we do now, our conscious awareness is that we are falling out of this cycle. It's really quite remarkable. And we have this power at the center of it today, this dominion over ourselves, in the very beginning of something new that is starting to formulate, that is at the center, at the heart of it. And now we are expressing it right through we're taking ourselves out of these neural pathways and realizing we're in control. The dominion is that we have the power. We actualize ourselves. And when we do that, we know that we are responsible. We're responsible for taking ourselves out of these patterns, but we have a lot of energy to actualize and activate this right now. And as we see with the Ten of Swords, as this causal factor, we've hit a wall. We can't go any further with this endless analyzing and externalizing everything. And I think that this has been very painful, and it has been. It's been so painful. The last 2 weeks have just been so painful. But what it's done is, taking you to this point where you're just like, I can't get anywhere else with this train of thought. And now we've been doing the work. Hopefully, we've been doing the work. And where this is going to lead to is, dun, dun, dun. We just talked about this yesterday. The lust, the passion, right? Venus in Leo, which is where Venus is right now. Venus is in Leo. So we know that this is the expectation of where all of this is going, is that we are going to feel the passion of who we are, and it's going to infuse everything that we do. And when that happens, this is where we really push that up out from underneath and push it up right to the surface. And you can see all the symbolism here, all of the serpents coming to this point. She is riding this beast, right? And this multi-headed beast. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the tail. Didn't we just talk about the tail? Oh, gosh. I can't wait to show you some of the symbolism. Oh, there's so much going on here. That this divine mother, the divine feminine aspect that is represents the water and the earth, right? Coming up from the depths and really giving us this passion and this for our creativity, right? And like I said, when each of us is in this state, if we are fully embodying who we are and letting our passion be what informs and infuses all of our actions, we are able to do anything. So if we're not doing things that are not backed by our passion or infused with passion, it's really not going to succeed. But we have success all over this reading today, and it's coming from a very strong root in doing the work and staying consistent and trusting our vision and really wanting to bring it into material form. Now, there is in terms of guidance, this is where it gets really awesome. So, it's already awesome to begin with. So, number one, clearing the way, the 4 of keys. So we have another material element here. Now it's reversed, right? The way has been cleared. That is another indication here that things are moving. We've already cleared our path, right? And this has allowed us to keep working. We've cleared our path. Maybe the fact that we're working is clearing our path, but it's a reminder that we have been chipping away literally at our sculpture, at this obstacle, whatever it is. We've been chipping away, doing the work, right? What does that mean? That means you have to look at your interactions. You have to follow the pathway of your thought processes and see how it leads you to the same stupid place all the time of sabotage and negativity and putting yourself down. And there's a difference between being realistic with yourself and being like, okay, these are the things I need to change, these are the ways I can grow, or just maintaining that consistent, really toxic mindset. The way has been cleared, and it's because we have been consistent, we have chipped away at it, we have used our energy to actually make real impact on the world around us, and now we get to go home, right? And the octopus. Now, I'm going to speak more on this, what these 2 animal cards represent here in a moment, because it's very significant in a lot of different ways. But the octopus, this is practice shape-shifting by altering your physical appearance and mannerisms. Well, that's very interesting as we talk about chipping away, making changes. We had the Hermit, which is the Virgo card, yesterday as our outcome, right? And the actual nuts and bolts, the routines, the habits, the works, the things we actually do. We put things in their place and we organize ourselves, organize our life, so that it purifies us, it disciplines us. We train and we practice to be the person that we want to be, and the person that is able to show up in full service. Now, the octopus, there's a couple things to keep in mind about this message here. Number one, how many tentacles does an octopus have? Well, I believe it has 8. So let's just go with that. We're going to go with the 8 tentacles of the octopus. Maybe it has more, maybe it has less. We're just going to stick with that number because it's important. Number one. Number 2, an octopus, they're incredibly intelligent, right? Really, really intelligent. They're adaptable, they're resilient, they're flexible, right? They can fit. Have you ever watched an octopus fit through these tiny holes or maneuver through spaces that are how can you possibly fit through them? Keep this in mind. This is very interesting. And their skin color changes based on how they are feeling and responding to their environment. So the shape-shifting is as a result of the work we're doing. We're literally changing in real time. We're upgrading in real time as a result of the actual work we're doing on a daily basis in our actual physical lives. And that, that has to do with, again, addressing where we need to grow, looking at our thought processes and how they impact us in the long term, right? How we feed certain mental trajectories, right? And we get caught in, like I said, get caught in gossip. We get caught in a negative tailspin of judgment and jealousy and envy and hopelessness and all of this stuff. And we've been chipping away, consistent, right? We fall off and we get back up. We fall off, we get back up, and we keep doing it and doing it. And this has literally changed our appearance. We're literally shape-shifting as a result of the work we're doing on ourselves, okay? So an octopus, and besides the fact that it's resilient, adaptable, flexible, able to fit through any hole, like is able to literally manage its shape, it also changes color. Now, something else to consider about this that is important is that shape-shifting is also allows us to mirror to other people. It allows us to step into other people's shoes, quite literally. So compassion is really stimulated by this ability, because when we can actually step energetically into somebody else's experience, this is where we have real compassion. Now, that doesn't excuse their bad behavior at all, or ours for that matter. But what it does is it allows us to actually see that everybody has their own journey, their own perspective, their own way of looking at the world, and has their own trials to deal with. And so we can develop real compassion by also shifting our shape, being able to step into other people's shoes, and we're literally altering our physical appearance and mannerisms. I actually talked to somebody not that long ago who brought this up and talked about how they felt like they were physically changing. And we're physically changing. Our DNA is upgrading. And as we know, the DNA is the blueprint for how everything organically builds. It's changing. We are changing. And this is reminding us of that we're changing on a very material level. And it's the result of our own work, right? Nothing outside of us is changing us. Well, maybe the fact that we're moving into a different part of the galaxy is certainly going to be part of that. But it's our own work that's doing this. So this is a really good indication that things are moving along in this realm, okay? So when it comes to the spider, here is another 8-limbed animal and very feminine, right? You know, the octopus lives in the water. The spider is the feminine spark, right? It is the weaver of reality. It's about receptivity. The spider creates the web, creates their home, creates the means in order to sustain itself, and receives. The spider doesn't now there may be other spiders. I'm not like really an expert in this realm, but the spider's not going out and hunting. The spider is creating the web in order to entrap what it needs, right? So receptivity. Also 8 limbs, okay? Keep this in mind. This is important. 8 limbs. So we are the makers of our own destiny, right? And when we come out of that karmic trench, that's because we are doing it. Again, we weave our own destiny. We weave our own reality, and it comes through our own thought processes, the way that these neural pathways unfold. And neuroplasticity allows us to change this. And so this spider represents the receptivity, and of course, but it's also the weaver of our own destiny, creativity. We're responsible, and we have the capacity to do this. And we are the music makers and the dreamers of dreams, right? That was made famous actually through Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but that's actually a poem. Oh God, I can't remember the name now, but it just came out. I was just the weaver, the music makers and the dreamers of dreams, right? We're weaving our own destiny, weaving our own reality. And of course, if we, let's keep going with the theme of the goddess here and the divine mother, the queen of roses, right? The water of water. And she represents the way that we love ourselves, the way that we can show compassion and love to other people. Look how, she's surrounded by roses, but she's got this one rose petal in her hand that she's just so lovingly holding and giving attention to. And this is important to remember, that we have to not only embody this for ourselves, but also for other people. And when we show this love to ourselves and this compassion to other people, again, it is the weaver of our reality. we are the weaver of our reality. We can embody this feminine energy and this beautiful, receptive, compassionate energy. Then it allows this web to weave, or it allows us to weave that web into an even wider space. And again, the web that we weave is like the network of neural pathways in our mind, and we get to make that choice. And this is this is just incredible. So one of the things, so let's I want to show you a couple images here that have to do with these 8 limbs, because this is where the Divine Mother aspect comes in. So number 1, this is Durga, right? Durga is a Hindu goddess. And as you can see, she's riding on a lion, okay? So there's our passion and our lust and our Leo card, right? She's riding in on a lion, and she has 8 limbs, right? And in each hand, she's carrying some sort of weapon. And in Hindu cosmology, this goddess receives all of these weapons as from a different deity. And what is her role? Well, she is the Divine Mother, right? Sometimes she's known as Shakti, and she is the protector, the protective mother of the universe, right? She's probably one of the most popular Hindu deities, and she's a protector of all that is good and harmonious in the world. And so she's sitting atop the lion. Sometimes it's a tiger, and she has 8 limbs that she has a weapon for, in order to do battle with evil in the world. Okay. So one of the things, and she manifests in a lot of different ways in Hinduism. And Hinduism is probably it's so polytheistic, right? It's just like an endless expression, just unfolding forever of all of these different deities that eventually it's so multifaceted that it's like comes back to the one singular source, right? It comes from it, and then in my opinion goes back to it, and it's just this endless infinite expression of the one source. So she is the mother, she is the protector, and she's always ready to do battle with evil from any direction, because she has all of these different weapons that are at her disposal. And she is the consort of Shiva, the creator and the destroyer, as well in Hinduism. So you can look up Durga, Durga, to get an idea of what she represents and look deeply into it. This is something that's come up pretty strongly. But the limbs of the octopus, the 8 limbs of the spider, the 8 limbs of Durga. I mean, it is pretty cut and dry in terms of the symbolism here that the Divine Mother is returning now, and she's doing battle. So another way to look at this, we have another image here, Durga, the warrior goddess, right? And she has all of these different weapons. She's got the trident. She's got the conch shell, which is the Om, right? She has the discus or the chakra, right? She has a sword. She has the mace, leadership, love, right? She's atop the lion or the tiger, which is her power or her Shakti or her passion. It's awakened feminine power and committed to truth, right? So I really encourage you to do some research if you feel called to look into Durga. Now we're going to make a transition here in 1 second. Now, one more thing I want to show you, the 8 limbs of yoga, right? Ashtanga yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. Yoga is traditionally in the West considered synonymous with Hatha yoga, which is the asana, right? The poses. That's just one part of this whole process of yoga. And Patanjali's Yoga Sutras is something I would really encourage you to familiarize yourself with, because before Hinduism became a religion, the Vedic scriptures and the yogic science and Ayurveda was really the science of awakening, spiritual awakening, and how to live a healthy life. And so these 8 limbs of yoga are part of the whole process, and asanas are just one limb of this multifaceted process of social contracts, personal contracts, the asanas, the pranayama, which is the breath, the withdrawal of the senses, going within, basically, meditation, intense concentration, and then of course samadhi, state of oneness. So these are all part of it as well. So, and what is the number 8 if not the infinity symbol? Also the Gnostic symbol of Christ. So this imagery has come out to be so strong, but the mother aspect, the divine mother aspect, is really showing itself right now. And the water is so necessary for this process, because there is a lot of fire right now, and there's no doubt about it, but we need to have the balance point to that in order not to be scorched earth, right? Because that is what happens. The scorched earth is what we get when there is no balance point to this solar fire. So these are just meant to give you a focus of study, maybe stimulate some curiosity, open a door, perhaps. But the symbolism for me is not lost today. And all right, so I want to show you. We're gonna go into. There we go. We're gonna go into the astrology for today, because there's a very specific thing that Durga, when she goes into battle and vanquishes the enemy, she transforms into Kali. Oh, Kali. And now that Pluto has retrograded back into the 25 to 26 degree, it's really striking how much this degree is about the ability to perceive the water element that is throughout all life, right? Water is life. And Pluto is Kali, right? Pluto, the Lord of Death, but in this way is about Kali. And it's the ability to perceive the hidden and creative spirit of water and natural phenomenon, right? Water binds all the living cells. It represents the constant flow of vital energies, the fluidity of our consciousness. And we are becoming sensitized to this flow, this downward flow of water, right? And we saw the water as yesterday in the 6 of Forces, the waterfall. It flows down, right? It flows down through us. And now that Pluto has reached this point as a retrograde, especially, we are becoming aware of the Kali energy and the fact that the Divine Mother is now entering the scene here. And for those people that are still not quite there yet, this is going to be, Kali is a terrifying figure. But remember what Pluto does represent in the chart in terms of evolutionary astrology. It is the final word of the soul's transformation. So there's no getting away from this. And know that this is in fact the Divine Mother coming in, even though she has this terrifying physical form right now as Kali. It is because she is here to enact the destruction that is absolutely necessary for the evolution and transformation of not only our individual soul, but our collective soul, because Pluto is a transpersonal planet. It has a very long orbit, 220 plus years to get around the sun. So we are in a moment here of the destructive energy of water, and that is, can be characterized in a lot of different ways. A storm is one of them. So it's just something to keep in mind as we move through this process. And maybe I can find, I'll probably post a picture, an image of Kali, just to give people some reference point to how on the surface it seems very terrifying. She is terrifying. She is the goddess of death and destruction, right? But this is only after Durga interfaces in battle that she becomes Kali. So the fire is inseparable from the water if we want to actually perform alchemical unification, and sometimes that's going to come through destruction, and where Pluto has shifted today is very noticeable. So what is happening today? Not only are we have our moon in Pisces, right? And so like we talked about, how are your dreams? And the moon started out in a trine to the sun. So how beautiful is that? That happened at much earlier this morning. If we go back to where this happened, the moon and the sun in a trine at their 8-degree mark, 7 to 8 degrees, right? And so the sun in Cancer, in a family situation, if we look at Cancer as the familial matrix in which our personality and our character starts to develop, our self-esteem, we start out as imitating, right? We imitate those around us, the adults around us, our caregivers, those who are the holders of the tradition and the heritage. We start out by imitating them, right? That's how we learn how to be, is at first we are imitating that which is modeled as, mature, or as an adult, or as something that is, as someone who is rooted, right, and stabilized. We look to those individuals in our immediate environment or in our ancestry or heritage to model ourselves after. And so in a trine to the moon, right, this moon in Pisces, where everything is so translucent and liminal, and there's nothing to really grab onto. We're just feeling it. Well, this is a call to action, and a call to participation specifically. So we may not necessarily know everything quite yet, but we are realizing that when we are able to see the exemplars of who we want to be, identify them, and start to model our behavior after them, this is very structurally supporting where we are feeling and what we are feeling, and what we have this very deep innate sense of at this moment with the moon in Pisces. So this is a really incredible connection with the moon and the sun, the masculine and feminine, the fire and the water, in a very structurally supportive connection that shows us that it's really, we want to look towards those who inspire us, right? And who hold the resonance of somebody who is stabilized. And like I said, it can be in our family, it can be in our immediate environment, it could be in our heritage or our ancestry, it could be those who are leaders in our community, right? The clan, for instance, or our nation. That's a big part of the Cancer archetype. And considering the fact that the U.S. is a Cancer sun, this is not lost on me. I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it's something to consider. So as we move through the day here, the moon is then going to square her own nodal axis with let's see here. And we know that we are being pulled in this new direction. We know that we are letting go of these older paradigms that are still embedded in our bodies, right? That's the thing, is like we're still, and that, goes back to that neural pathway, doesn't it? Right? It's still embedded in there. So we have to actually take the initiative to let those go so that we can go into a new direction. And we are, right? We saw that karmic trench. We're getting dumped right out of it. But the square here will force change, because there's a very narrow pathway and we feel it within us. We don't necessarily know where it's headed, but we do know that it is a narrow pathway, right? The eye of the needle. And so we're feeling into that. And that square with the moon to her own nodal axis, which is a very karmic axis, right? It's very karmic in terms of where we are headed and where we are headed from. We do see that it's a narrow pathway, and it'd be real easy if we're like, oh, look, it's so wide. We can just kind of, we can spread out throughout the entire, the whole lane here. And it's really not a wide lane at all. It's a very narrow lane. And this is going to force us into some way to at least acknowledge how narrow the path really is in our illumination, in order to get to our illumination. So that's squaring the nodal axis. The moon is going to quincunx Mars in Leo. And we really do want to just have fun. We really do just want to express ourselves through this kind of sophisticated gathering, because Leo is about having fun. Leo is about the expression of the self through these really through these events that are really that bring out that part of us, right? And so again, the quincunx is that 150-degree angle where these aspects don't fit together very well at all. And so we are being initiated and tested, and we feel that within us. Now, this may not be something that we are consciously aware of. With a moon in Pisces, we're definitely not consciously aware of it unless we are really very connected to our innate. But that's where it's coming through, is our innate. So our dreams as well are going to reflect this, and probably have been. But this quincunx, again, is going to give us an opportunity to adjust ourselves as we are being initiated on some level, while Mars is like, I'm ready to just go out there and mix it up and shake it up and get into this really like party zone. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing at all. We need this. This fire is inevitable, right? This fire is inevitable, but we do have to adjust ourselves on a spiritual internal level, because we have to realize that while that's happening, it's really about how we are being initiated into this next phase as well. And what's really going to help with this, I think, is that when the moon comes into this sextile with Uranus, as you see here, that investment, right? That harmonious investment opportunity, the 60-degree angle. We can wrap ourselves in our mental subtlety as we are on this path of awakening, right? And so we don't have to put it all out there right away. We can actually kind of wrap ourselves in our own intelligence and this mental subtlety in order to move along this process in a way that doesn't burn us, right? Here we go with the water and the earth again, and wrapping ourselves in what we've discovered up to this point. And maybe again, our innate, we wrap ourselves with our, it is very subtle in a lot of ways when we talk about the moon in Pisces, right? There's nothing to really grab onto here, but what we can do is invest this into what is on the surface a very disruptive reality here. And maybe we hold some things back, right? Maybe we know inside of us where we're headed, and we invest that into this awakening process with Uranus in Taurus. But it's not right out on the surface. Mars is right out on the surface. Mars is on the surface. Mars is in Leo. Like, it is full on right here. But there's a part of us, right? There's a part of us, our innate, that is, and that subconscious connection, right, to the collective, that we maybe pull back a little bit. And when we do that, this is really going to help us, I think, along this process that is it protects us against storms and trials. And again, the water that is so destructive, that Kali energy that's coming in, that we know is part of we do know it's unavoidable with Pluto, right? We know that this is the final word of our transformation. The final word of our soul's transformation is where Pluto, what Pluto represents. And so this is going to, this intelligence and mental subtlety protects us, right? We don't have to put ourselves fully out there emotionally necessarily as we go through this process. And also we want to protect ourselves as there are actual storms and trials that Uranus is, there's no stability with Uranus. And that's the whole point of Uranus. It is the stability that is shaken up in the 3D, for instance, in a material way, is what allows us to transcend our need to feel secure by those things. Okay, so this sextile today is really allowing us a sense of protection, and it goes both ways, right? Uranus and Taurus, you can invest this collective energy can invest into where our own personal need for protection is, right? Where we are able to collectively tap into the rhythm of nature rather than rely on the seemingly disruption in our resources. Okay, so that seems to be something that's going to come out much later today, as you see, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is coming. And then as we move throughout the rest of the day, we're going to have another mutable square with the moon and now a direct Mercury. Let's see here. Here we go. So while we are getting this direct transmission of mastery, right, as a disciple, for instance, and getting it right through this, again, the innate, right, getting direct transmissions, getting subtle but very potent instruction. You know, if you're channeling messages, if you're getting your synchronicities, whatever the mechanism is for your instruction and that unbroken line of spiritual knowledge that's being passed on. While that is happening within us on a certain level, the square to Mercury, right? Again, it's going to force a change because our minds are trying to connect to some traditional wisdom here in the mind, right? And connecting to a traditional wisdom from the mind. And it's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just that when they meet each other, they are going to force us to change our position, because when they meet and they're at these cross purposes, they're going to go off, right? And so on the one hand, Mercury is trying on, doing Mercury's thing with our mental capacity to find traditional wisdom. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't connect to this aspect, but remember that not everything, if we use our minds exclusively, that's what I'm trying to say. If we use our minds exclusively, which we saw in the reading already, if we try to use our minds exclusively for this process, and discount the subtle spiritual aspects that are coming in to really bring us this unbroken line of spiritual knowledge, if we don't allow these things to interact with each other and learn from them, then we get, thrown off all over the place. So this square later today, where our emotional landscape is at cross purposes with our mind. And that's a pretty basic idea in and of itself that we have to contend with. And we stand to really get scattered all over the place if we, but the good thing about mutable squares, while at the same time being a not so good thing, is that they're malleable. These are malleable energies that shift and change. And so we could very easily morph into something else when they come to meet each other. So this is, it's an incredible day in terms of the energy. Like I said, it's coming in hot. There's a lot of fire in this chart, but there's a lot of water coming in, and it's destructive, but it's a necessary destructive energy that allows for real transformation. And for those who are not prepared for this, you get swept out, right? And whoo boy, oh my gosh, my friends. And I think I'm going to leave it here. Let's check in real quick, because I don't really, I'm trying to see if anything else wants to come in, and I think that that's really where we're going to leave it. So I'm going to check in with the stream real quick and see what's going on here. Hi guys, good morning. Yes. Okay. It looks like, am I still streaming? Because it says that I'm not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, but everything else seems to be doing just fine. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but that's okay, because I'm just going to be ending the stream here today. Oh, there it is. It just ended. Oh no. Okay, I have no idea what's happening, guys. So that is my cue that we're going to leave it here. So some feedback would be nice to let me know what's going on and if, in fact, this is still streaming or not. But I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you're doing well. Please take good care of yourself. If you're interested in a reading or energetic support through Reiki or shamanic energy work, you can link to my website in the description box and go to the services tab, and that will show you all the things that are available if that's something that you feel called to do. If you want to connect through social media, Facebook, Telegram, that's also in the description box below. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Guys, I love you. I hope you're doing well. Take very good care of yourselves. Remember that the storm is here to cleanse, right? That the Durga coming in is the protector. She protects us. And for as much as Kali, as a terrifying image, realize that this is part of the process as well. And we cannot grow things new without letting go of the old pathway. So I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.